Okay, well, it's so exciting to be with you right now, Erev Hanukkah, because we're going to go deeply into this question, and it was already mentioned today, and Rabbi Schneider probably could have mentioned it also, because it is such a famous, maybe one of the most famous questions in rabbinic literature, and certainly probably the most famous question in Hanukkah is what we call the Beis Yosef's question. It was really asked in earlier generations, but the Beis Yosef is very famous for asking it. And probably we didn't know who else had asked it for hundreds of years. In fact, there's a sefer that came out recently with over 500 teruts and 500 answers to this question. 500. Right? So I read one time about 120 of them very quickly. So, but specifically, sometimes, like the Mesilas Yesharim told us, that we learn together, sometimes when something is well known, it's not known because you never really think about it. And you certainly never think about it. Oh yeah, because everybody knows that question. Okay? So, did you see it inside? Did you think about it? Did you evaluate the different terusim? And for sure, like I try to give in these shiurim, we're speaking on a level that everybody can understand, but we'll jump a little bit at certain times to something a little more complex for the more advanced. Sir Bosai, let's see on our sheet the question. Okay, here it is. So first, let's see the tour. Beis Yosef, of course, was the Shulchan Aruch's work on the tour. The tour was the first one who came up with like the system of 4 things, Even Ezer, or Chaim, etc. And the Shulchan Aruch was very much based on him. The Torah was the Rosh's son. And he writes this, quoting the Gemara, in Shabbos Mai Chanukah, Kishnichnusu Ovo de Glilin Behechal, Betim Kol Hashmanim, they were Betam Kol Hashmanim, as you already heard about, V'Gavri Yad Malchus Beis Chashmonai, V'Nitzchum Badku V'Lo Motzel Pachach Et Shel Shemen, they only found 1 pach of Shemen, 1 container, flask of Shemen, Shayach Chatum B'Chod Moshe Kohen Gadol V'Lai Bo'el Kedei L'Hadlik Yom Echad, it only had enough oil for 1 day, V'nasa bo nes, and there was a nes, through it vidlika bo ches yamim. And that 1 day turned into 8 days, and here we are, right on the cusp of 8 days of Hanukkah. Because of that. L'shana cheres kabum b'yo, yom tov b'hala v'hodah, etc. So, let's see the Beis Yosef. So that's the tour. So it's like when you look at a tour inside, it's like the tour is what will be like the Gemara, and then you have the Beis Yosef is like the Rashi. And then there's a Bach on the other side, and the Prisha, Drisha, other Pirushim. But the Beis Yosef is the most, basic and earliest Pirush that we have. The Ramah, of course, has to work Darchei Moshe on the Torah also. So it's really, this is where Shulchan Aruch comes from. This point itself, I don't think it's spoken about in Shulchan Aruch. It's not a halachic question. But let's see. Ikal Ameidak. Lama Kavu Shmoni Yamim. Why did they make it 8 days? Kevin, Deshemen Shirapach Haibot Gedei Lahadlik Laila Achad. Since you had enough for 1, Nimtzis Shlo Nasa Nes El B'Shiva Leilos. Right? Simple question. We always celebrate 8 days because the miracle was for 8 days. Says Beis Yosef, no, it wasn't. They had enough oil for 1 day. Right? If you had one loaf of bread, which was enough for 1 day of bread. You had 1 donut, which is enough for 1 day of Hanukkah. Right? And you ate it and it came back. For 8 days of Hanukkah, so it would be 7 miracles, not 8, because you had 1 donut. Right? You have to time my age for both sides and wait. You have to time when you eat your donuts, I'm going to try to avoid eating them at night. But you can do your own cheshbonos. You're young. You're strong. You can eat as many donuts as you like. Okay. Now, Rosai, Agav, did anybody think about it? Why did it have to last for 8 days? Why is 8 the number? So we know, let's just keep it rhetorically now. Time is short. I don't want to hold everybody, but, right, everybody knows it, because 8 is, right now, guys, there are spiritual answers for 8, of course. 8 is above Teva, we all know that idea. But why was it Nes 8 days? So, I want to share with you what the Miri says. Listen carefully. It happens to be like this. They found the Shemen. And part of what I want to do for you guys is to give you some of the, knowledge of what went in on the Beis Hamikdash and how they did things. So there's a place called Tekoa. There's a place today called Tekoa. There's a place back then, Tekoa. And the Mishnah in Menachos, I believe, says Tekoa is Alpha L'Shemen. Alpha is a Greek word, probably. No, Greek today. Alpha means like the best, just like now, alpha program or alpha, beta, etc. Alpha means like the best. So the Alpha L'Shemen is in Tekoa. There's a place called Tekoa which had the best Shemen. It was 4 days' journey from Jerusalem. Okay, so the Meiri explains exactly this. What happened was, let's say they lit that when the first night was. It'd be interesting if someone to figure out. I don't know if it's written anywhere, but let's say it was a Sunday night, Yom Rishon. So they lit Sunday night, right? They're not traveling at night. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they traveled to Tekoa to get the new Shemen, because that's where the best oil is. Then they produced the Shemen that day, rush production, that's Thursday, and then they travel back Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? Because it's 4 days there, 4 days back, and 1 day was production. This is basically what the Miri says. So if you think about it, that means it took them, they lit Sunday, and then they're traveling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Thursday they also prepared the Shemin, and then they traveled again Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, right? And by Monday night already they had the new oil. So the last time they lit miraculously was Sunday night, right? So how many days did they light miraculously? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday. That's 8 days. There you go. That's 8 days. Okay? That's why it was 8 days, by the way. Just good to know the Pashup Pshat. There's a good example where, 8, what do you mean? 8 is L'malam Minatava. Okay, but Seder, why? That's God did the miracle that way? So that's the Pashup Pshat when the miracle is 8 days. By the way, you have to think about it. How they travel on Shabbos? Miri doesn't go into it. When did they go and travel? Did they travel at night? He didn't really speak it out. He just said, he does talk about, what the Miri said and what I added. The Miri says it was a 4-day trip to Tekal. Okay, I don't want to go into that. Just a side point, but to know, it's already worth coming, right? To just know, we've already, guys, now you can say, right, as opposed to many of your yeshivish friends, you actually read the Beis Yosef's question and thought, and you just didn't hear it over a Sufganiya or over some Arak. And we will get back to Arak. And you guys will probably get more back to Sufganiyot than I will. Okay, I'm a half a person without them. Sir Bosai. So that's the Beis Yosef's question. So why is Hanukkah 8 nights? Let's just make it 7 nights because the miracle is only 7 nights. Good? Beautiful question. So let's see, guys, now, you know what? The Beis Yosef himself offered answers, also not so well known. Beis Yosef himself gave 3 answers. Let's see number 1. And we're going to go through a little bit his answers, and we'll try to work with them, and we'll try to break down. I hope by the end to have, hopefully in half an hour, we're going to try to get to 5 answers. And we're going to see also that it's 5, but it's a 2 that are 5. For those who know how I like to classify things, everybody should. It's 2 that are 5 about 8. Yeah? So let's see. So the Beis Yosef says, Yesh Lomer, Shechilku Shemen Shebapach, L'shmona Chalakim. Now, first guys, I want to give you guys a little introduction. Important to know. Listen carefully. Okay? There's a lot of things, we're not going to deal with all this, but in all the, tens of answers that I read about this topic, different things come into play. Okay? One is, how much oil was there? How did they split up the oil? And there was a pach. What's the pach mean? Now, listen carefully. Every candle, nair, what we call a nair, that means nair means where you put the stuff and the oil inside of it. So, was a half a lug. Everybody look into the one aleph for a second. See that first indented thing? This is the Ram Hilchos Tmidim. Okay, this has nothing to do with Hanukkah. This is the Ram discussing with us how we like the menorah in general. The common shemen who notem lechol ner, chetzi log shemen, shenemar me erabad boker, tein lo kmida, shedolek me erabad boker. Okay? It says you're supposed to do it from the night until the day. Tein lo kmida, shedolek me erabad boker. So that every night you're supposed to put in a chetzi lug, a half a lug. Okay? We're going to talk about what a chetzi lug is for something, so you should know. And that was enough for these candles to light from night until morning. Good? That was the regular mitzvah. Everybody chaps that, right, guys? Hanukkah didn't make up the mitzvah. The mitzvah was, we used to light a menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. Part of the avodah that we did. We brought korbanos. Tmidim, we talk about that. We brought Ketores every day, morning and night. And one of the mitzvahs we did in the Beis Hamikdash was the menorah. Okay? And that's the mitzvah they're coming to. How many candles were there in the menorah? How many? 7. There were 7, right? 3 on this side, 3 on that side. Ner Ma'aravi, there were 7. Okay, now, if each ner has a chetzi lug, so how many lugim do we have altogether? 3.5. Now we'll say, how much is a lug? You know how much a lug is. You know how much a lug is? Because there's something called a revius. Right? Who hasn't heard of revius? Don't be embarrassed. That's an embarrassing way to ask the question, right? We've all heard of revius. A revius is a quarter. Revius of a lug is a quarter of a lug, right? And the standard shear for that, the standard shear for a revius is 86 cc's. Okay? And this is about 170 cc's. So this right here is about 2 reviuses. This is about a chetzi lug. Thank you. Perfect. You did it on purpose. Yeshua. This is about what we have right here is about a chetzi lug. Right? Now watch just to do miracles. I'm going to throw this all up and then catch it all back in the cup. Who believes I could do that? Thank you for that belief. I can't. Amen. So we're both saying, so that's about how much oil there was. Right? A lug is about the amount of a Coke can. Okay? I want to differentiate from Coke and not Pepsi Max. Okay, can we just get that clear? Coke and not Pepsi Max. Exactly. Right? A Coke can is about a lug. Almost exactly. So it's the amount of oil you need. So now the pach had 3.5 Coke cans worth of shemen in it. And then that pach was for one day, and that's what was going on. So that was right? Everybody got it? Yofi. So says the Beis Yosef, Shechilku shemen shebepach l'shmona chalakim. They didn't do the whole amount of the pach that was in the source. B'chol laila hayinonim b'menorah chelik echad. And each night they would put in a little bit. V'ayidolik ad boker v'nimtza shebechol neis nasanes. So what's the Beis Yosef's first answer? No, they didn't put all the oil in, right? Again, this pach has 3.5 lug of oil, enough for one night's lighting, for 7 neirot. And the standard thing to do would have been to pour it all in, and then tomorrow get a new pach. Well, that's what we're going to do when we get back from Tekoa. But they didn't have enough, so they only put in an eighth. Good? And then, they come at night. Theoretically, what should have happened? That eighth should have burned out in about an hour or so, and it keeps going the whole night. What's up? That's the nace. And that's why we celebrate from 8 nights, because in fact, the nace was on the first night. Okay? Now both sides. Good? Everybody got the first answer? Now you're good. Okay? What questions do we have on that first answer? Anybody? Just on that first answer. I don't want to hear what you heard, the answer your Uncle Jaime gave you when you were 3 years old to this question. Just let's focus on this. Any questions? Yeah.
What was the Havamina? You were going to not properly do the mitzvah for 8 days?
So it's not what's the Havamina, why they do it, right? What were they doing? Why is that a good way to do it? We're supposed to say, if I can only bring one, why would I split it? See what I'm saying? I would have thought if the mitzvah is, meaning, listen carefully, l'chara the Beis Yosef is getting an interesting halachic question. The right way to do the mitzvah, let's read the Rambam together, guys. V'kama shemen who knows, look at Aleph again. Again, this is not the Rambam about Chanukah, this is the Rambam about the mitzvah of lighting the menorah. V'kama shemen hu noten l'choner, chatzi lug shemen. Shnemar me'erev ad boker, tein lo k'mida she'adolik me'erev ad boker. The amount you're supposed to put in is, how much am I supposed to put in, guys? A chatzi lug, into each one. Chatzi lug, chatzi lug, chatzi lug, chatzi lug, chatzi lug. Now I put in an eighth of a chatzi lug, which was really, how much is an eighth of a half? It was a 16th, right? Instead I put in a 16th of a lug into each one. And therefore, the mitzvah won't be done correctly. So it's interesting, that answer is interesting, that it sounds like the L'chadchila did something they weren't supposed to do. Everybody get the question? It's an interesting point. Now, what's in one possibility? Maybe what? Maybe they thought the nace would happen. Maybe the reason they did that is they were counting on something miraculous to happen.
Are we not allowed to do that?
Oh, but are we not allowed to do it? Because in some there are two questions if you say that's the shot. Maybe they thought something miraculous would happen. So there are two issues with that. If they thought something miraculous would happen, so just put in the regular amount and the same miracle can happen, right? Why do that? Why would they do the miracle that way? And also, there's a principle, you can see it in source 2, just one of hundreds of places where it exists. Ain't some chalanes. Everybody knows ain't some chalanes, right? You can't be some chalanes. Right? If you go to Israel for 6 months, there's no chance you'll never, ever get a job your parents told you, and therefore it's some chalanes. Well, so isn't it Gavaldi that the 2 last people came where people were highly successful, and they're all telling you have to have bitachon? These guys are all making a lot more than all the Rabbeim in Yeshiva. I can tell you that, yeah? And they're all telling us to have bitachon. Him and Jeff last time, right? Malin Bekodesh. So it's amazing. So that's a issue. So I don't know if that was what it was, but it seems to be the Pashup Shah and the Beis Yosef would seem to be, friends, that the idea was at least it should be for each night something. It sounds like it was a strategy, right? If we go for the gusto and if we go for the gusto and put all the oil in, it'll only be enough for one night. So it's better to have a little bit for each night, which is interesting. It sounds like a halachic chiddush. And again, maybe you could say maybe they would say they're counting on a miracle, but if they're counting on a miracle, we have 2 issues with counting on a miracle. One, if you're counting a miracle, so just put in all the oil, and the same miracle could happen. Yes? Or, what? And also, in general, we're not supposed to count on miracles issue. Okay, maybe we'll get back to that a little bit, but I don't have a full answer. Let's see the Beis Yosef's second answer, guys. V'od yesh lomer, or see the two? So again, this is just an basically exact quote of the Beis Yosef. V'od yesh lomer, shala'achar shenanu shemen b'neiros hamenorah. They put in full amounts, chetziluk in each one. What happened? Nisher hapach mali kibetchila. What was full still? The jug. Thank you for that. The jug was still full. The nikar hanes apalayla b'shana. So therefore they felt the nace on the first night also. You see it, guys? Meaning, so watch this. A big difference. The oil, according to the first answer, right, just help me with this. What was the miracle of the first night? What was the miracle of the first night?
The oil didn't burn.
What?
The jar was still full. Oil didn't burn.
And it burned all night despite the fact that it should.
What's it? No it's, guys. No it's. Uncle it, that's the only it is Uncle it, and it's not a funny show. Yeah? No pronouns. What's it? Dan, what burned the whole night?
They put it in an eighth.
They put it in an eighth?
And it burned all night.
But it should have, it's not like we think about it now. It should have only burned for an hour and it burned for 8 hours. Right? That's a miracle. According to the second shot of the Beis Yosef, what?
They're still full.
It was full. So was there a miracle in the candle itself?
In the oil.
No, the miracle wasn't in the oil. The miracle was in the pot, was in the jug. It's like, guys, when who knows a modern example of this? Come on, Netivot. I'll give you a hit. Netivot. The Baba Sali's arak, we're both say, right? When you drank the arak, it was arak. But they say it never emptied. Right? So the bottle, the nace was in the bottle. The jug stayed the bottle. Okay, so this is called the Baba Sali arak shot. Number 2. Okay. Now, number 3. Okay, number 3. Inami. Everybody see the 3? Shapell Rishana not call Hashem b'neirot. They put everything in, and there was nothing left in the pach. Good guys? Nothing left in the pach. V'doku kol alayla, and it burned the whole night. Uba boker matzu aneris malayim shemen. And then they found that it was still full. I think that's how most people imagine it. Right? I think it's interesting. Now that we got you deep into it, like, how did you used to think about it? If you thought about it. You know? How did you think the miracle happened? Have another donut. Yeah, Matt? Have a cookie, sweetie, right? Right? Yeah, have another donut. We don't think about it. To think about it. I think that's probably what he would. Now guys, let me teach you something. It probably was not that it lit the whole 8 nights. In no pshat is Beis Yosef it just lit the whole time. I don't think anybody would learn like that because there's a mitzvah to light every night. You understand? I did find an Acharon that seems to say that I'm going to bothered by it. I don't want to say it's thing because maybe I got it wrong. It's in my notes, but right? I think sometimes we just think like it just lit, just lit was 24/8, like 24/7. But it was like 24/8. I don't think it's 24/8 because the mitzvah, as we saw in the Rambam, you guys saw it. It's Erev HaBoker. The mitzvah. What are we trying to do here? We're trying to do the mitzvah. It's not right. We're trying to do the mitzvah, and the mitzvah was Erev HaBoker. So why would Hashem make the nace that it just goes on and on and on and on and on? So I think the point was that right. So guys, watch this. Now let's just watch what happened. Let's talk about the Metzias, the reality. Tell me if you agree with me. According to the first shot of Beis Yosef, they put in an eighth. That eighth lasted, and then how much was left at the end? Nothing, right? I think that's the first shot. And then they took from the pach. The pach was now 7/8 full, and now they said, "Oh wow, that was great." So the first night they maybe did it because they just wanted to at least get a little bit of the mitzvah. By the second night, they're probably thinking, hey, that was miraculous. It didn't go out after an hour. It lasted all the way till Alos. I'm sure they didn't go to sleep. They were so excited to see such a thing, right? And then you took another eighth, right? According to the second shot, they totally filled the cups, right? Not an eighth full. The cups were fully full. But the pach wasn't empty, and therefore they saw the miracle already on the first night. Cool. And according to the third shot, they saw no miracle at first, and they poured in totally. Emptied the pach, poured in the oil, good, and then what happens? And then the pach is still full. Right? So let's go through that. According to the first shot and the second shot, What was the situation of the candle in the morning? What was the situation of the candle in the morning?
Empty.
According to Pshat number 1, empty. According to Pshat number 2, empty. Right? According to Pshat number 3, full. Okay? Well, what's the situation of the Pach? According to Pshat number 1, 7/8 full, and then 6/8 full, 7, right? According to Pshat number 2, totally full. Baba Sali Arak. According to Pshat 3, empty. Right? Interesting. And then, okay, what do you do in the morning? Because there's a mitzvah called Hatavas and Eris, you know that? Not only is a mitzvah to light the candle, the mitzvah of Hatavas and Eris, preparing the candle, which is part of where the idea of preparing for a mitzvah, which I hope everybody does. I see, look, for the yeshiva, there's a lot of work to do that, but, I think personally people should prepare their own Eris, If you bought already, don't feel bad, but for next year, prepare your own Eris. It's a little mitzvah. You have to go get someone, sit down, put an air and prepare it. You're supposed to love for a mitzvah. Yeah, so that's what I do. I believe nether, I don't buy. My wife knows, she always wants to come home, take care of things, you get busy. I said, no, I prepared for it already last night. Yeah, my son-in-law already prepared his menorah Friday. Baruch Hashem, my daughter married such a good boy. Yeah, little Hasidic fire in there. It got ready already on Friday, it was ready to there. We're excited for the candle. It's not just take the thing, fast as possible, speedy as possible. Now I got my robot to do it. Siri, could you do the Neris for me? I'll light, okay, but just do a mitzvah. Time, spend time. Take it, pour it, moment in. Yeah, I should have told everybody that earlier, but that's I think. Again, if anybody bought already, I'm not saying I want to be mafsid, moment show Yisrael. Maybe if I had bought already, I would, but I try to light myself. I try to prepare myself. Big deal. It's not such a big deal, guys. Everything is. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so those are 3 pshatim. So those are 3 ways that the miracle happened. Now, again, let's go back to the first pshat for a second, quickly. I think the Pashup pshat is that they were trying to do the best they could. You hear what I'm saying? Meaning, it's an interesting nafkamina between the pshatim. Is it halachically correct? And here, there could be nafkamina, there could be halachic difference to it. If you're in this trying situation, is it better to do it like once? Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say a person says, I can only daven once today. I only have the call to daven once, Davening to me is like so spiritual and I put my heart so much into it, I only have call to do it once. So is it better to daven like a really short shacharis to leave room for mincha mar? I can only daven like 20 minutes a day. So is it better to do 7 minutes shacharis, 7 minutes mincha, 7 minutes marv? Or is it better to do 1 20-minute shacharis? So it could be that's what's between the different answers in the Beis Yosef. According to the first teretz, it's better to touch shacharis mincha marv. You may not do it fully. Are we following, guys? Not too complex, right? According to the second teretz, last teretz, no, they didn't do that. Now, you might say again, in the first answer, they were being somech al hanes. Meaning, they were counting on something miraculous happening. But again, if they're counting on something, do we have an answer to that? If they're counting something miraculous happening, why not just count on the miracle? Pour it in totally. Yeah. And then the miracle could happen. Is there any, see what I'm saying? What do you say, guys?
Shows more bitachon if you only do a part of it.
Do more of it, so they were showing bitachon.
This is why I get the mitzvah no matter what. But here it's like, I'm really showing it.
I'm really being tough. I'm not even putting it all in. So I'm not sure, Bus. I'm not sure anymore. But I used to think that the first shot held that they were being somech al hanes. Now, how can it be somech al hanes? So I'll tell you a beautiful Torah which stands on its own on both sides. Look it together with me in source number 1 Gimel. Everybody see 1 Gimel? If you miss Al Nisim on Purim or on Hanukkah, you know what you say? There's a special tefillah you say at the end of benching, which is cool. It's like, another, it's like Pesach Sheni. You miss the first one, you got another chance. A special one. If you're not supposed to say it, if you said, I don't know if it's an issue to say it, but if you said Al Nisim in benching, you don't say it. But if you forgot Al Nisim, then you're supposed to say it. Look at the words. Harachamon hu yaseh lanu nisim. What's that mean? How do you translate that? The merciful one. That's God, the merciful one. Hu yaseh lanu nisim v'niflos. He should do wondrous things for us. Kamo she'aseh lavosenu, as he did for our ancestors. B'yamim heim b'azman hazeh. Boss, is this a prayer or is this a praise?
It's a request.
It's a request. Everybody agree it's a request?
Mm-hmm.
Harachaman, who has to do it. Now, what are we asking God to do? Miracles. And what kind of miracles, guys? Reveal miracles or unrevealed miracles?
Revealed miracles.
Reveal miracles. How do you know?
Because it's like the ones
we said. Straight thinking, Josh, right? Harachaman. Merciful one. Do miracles. Guys, we need miracles today. You hear what happened? Everybody heard what happened in Sydney. We need miracles. How are we going to be radical Islam? It's around the world. The tentacles are everywhere. All the Qatari money and all the blah blah money and all the things. They're all over, everywhere. Very scary. So we need nisim for both things. So Harachaman, hu yaseh lanu nisim. God, make for us miracles like the miracles you made, which were miraculous. So what are we asking for? A miraculous miracle. But I thought, Matt, we don't ask for miraculous miracles. Ain't some calling ace. And I thought, guys, not only that, I thought, what's the halacha? If you want a boy, this is a separate shir, some of you might have heard from me. If I really want a boy, right, and my wife is 3 months pregnant, and I go beg at the kota for a boy, good or bad? Bad! You're not supposed to, guys. First 40 days you can daven. Allah said, don't do it, right? There was a fine Talmud in the yeshiva, and he said to me, Rabbi, it was great. I davened all 9 months and God answered my prayers for a boy, right? And I said to him, Yossi, that's Amaratzis. I didn't say that to him. I don't try not to make you feel bad, but it's Amaratzis. You're not supposed to pray for a boy or a girl. My son has 5 boys, right? You're not supposed to pray for a boy or any child. You pray that they're healthy. But you're not supposed to pray for a specific child after 40 days. Yes?
Isn't it against the point of this? We don't really like that a miracle can happen, but then we're allowed to ask for
No, absolutely not.
allowed to ask for a miracle at all?
Definitely not. No, you're allowed to hope for one, but you can't ask, no, you can't. Like that. Like that. I just gave you an example. One is not supposed, guys, important. Tefillah Shav. Should I daven that this should turn into gold? Well, let's just daven. Dabasali could, you know what I mean? I can't. So I'm davening this, I could daven, I can make a million. That I can daven for. Hashem, help me win the lottery. I can't say, Hashem, make this turn right now. Turn this into gold, Mama needs a new pair of shoes. Turn this into gold. You can't daven that way. That's a tefillah shav. Incorrect prayer. Invalid prayer. Okay, guys? So how do we say Harachamanu Yaseh Lanu Nisim Niflos? Yeah.
I was just wondering, aren't we being Somach on an ace for all 3 of the answers? Either with answer 1 we're Somach on an ace because we put in 1/8 of the amount we need, or in answers 2 and 3 we're Somach on an ace because we put all of it forward and therefore we're relying on oil to come.
No, because the answers 2 and 3 we're just doing the mitzvah right now and it won't be.
But we assume that when we put
we
the
don't.
whole pot out, that there's nothing left in the pot for the next.
You're right. But then, again, you definitely associate yourself. One way or the other is the right way to do the mitzvah. Let's say I don't have enough money. Let's say my esrog is going to explode after 1 day. So what do? I have it for 1 day. Now I see my esrog is about to become puzzle. What should I do? I take it for 1 day. Tomorrow I'll be puzzle. There's no reason, guys. That's what I'm trying to get you into. We're going carefully into what the whole thing was. Realize we're looking back, right? Hindsight is 20/20. Of course, no, they didn't know that any nace was going to happen. By the way, guys, when this all happened, I want to tell you a chiddush. They didn't have telephones back then. Everyone, we're down for that. Everybody remember what a telephone is? They didn't even have telegrams. Anybody know what telegrams are? Not the new one, right? Not the Insta-Tele, this, that, right? Didn't have any of that. So the guys at the call had no idea what was going on. Yeah, it was very interesting. Right, it depends which job, but they went. When they went, right? When they went to go get the oil, they didn't know what was going on. They came back and they said, "It's been a wonderful nace this whole time. You know what's going on." Right? It depends when they went, according to different shatim, but it's very possible those guys, the messengers who went to Dakota to get the oil, didn't even know. They weren't counting on a nace. They didn't know a nace was happening. So what I want to share is like this. But again, listen to this question. We said that we're not in some nace. So look at these words. So the Yeshua Yaakov asks the question about the Harachaman. Right? The question is, how do you say the Harachaman? Just focus in. It's a nice thing it stands on its own. Again, I'm not sure what we need to say, but it's a nice thing it stands on. Harachaman, Yaseh Lanu Nisim. Right? Look at the Gimel. Nei she'asa she'al yado yisparsim shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Rabim k'mo az b'nei Chanukah esh levakesh. You're allowed to ask for a miracle if it will bring greatness to God's name. For your life, you want a boy, that's your business, right? But you want something miraculous for God's greatness, that you're allowed to ask for. Okay? So therefore, then they would theoretically, according to that, be allowed to be so mechalanes. Okay. Both sides, I want to share 2 more answers. And lo and behold, This answer was what, Rabosai? This question was already asked by the Miri. Miri was hundreds of years before the Beis Yosef. Okay, it was a later Rishon, but it was well before the Miri. So let's turn over our pages. Alpha P says the Miri. We're on top of page 2. Alpha shebegulus Mitzrayim in Gomer Sahalel El Yom Rishon. Lomer Ligmor B'Ches Yom Shel Chag El Asher Korbanos Chulugim Latzman before. Yeah. So he says like this. Mitzrayim. Ask another question. In Pesach, we only say Hallel for one day. And on Sukkot, the only reason we say Hallel for 8 days is because there's different korbanos. Yet on Chanukah, we say Hallel, a full Hallel the whole time. Shani shebechol yom v'yom hayines. Misrabo mischadish yoser. Here, guys, says the Meiri, why do we say Hallel every day? We don't say Hallel every day of Pesach. And we have a special reason because the korbanos change, like we talk about on Sukkot. So why do we say Hallel every day of Hanukkah? You know why? Because every day was a new nace. The nace got bigger and bigger. The oil's lasting longer, the oil's lasting longer, the oil's lasting longer. Now watch, he goes on. The Laila Rishon Shlo Yesham Neis Hashemen, and the first night where there was no nace in the Neis Hashemen. 0. Mevorchem al Agul of al Hodos Mitzias Hapach. See what he just said, guys? He's just answering the question. You know what we're praying. You know why we have 8 days of Hanukkah? Because of the Geula. What was the Geula? Not the Geula. What Geula? That we won the war. And that we found the Shemen. That's why we had another day. So the Nes of the Shemen was only 7 days. The Shar Leilos on Nes Hashemen. So we'll say another answer. Kavaldi. The Meiri gives another answer. Everybody here, guys? Isn't that exciting? The Meiri, it's, like, guys, if you're in the whole topic, it's very exciting because it was the Beis Yosef's question, right? And when the Beis Yosef asked the question, he didn't have a Meiri, I don't believe, and he didn't know the Meiri, right? It could be he knew it, we quoted, but we have all these Rishonim today that they didn't have, right? And the Meiri tells the question. It's 7 days of, why is Hanukkah 8 days? Not because the Nes HaShemen was 8 days, because it was 1 day for the Geula and the finding the Shemen itself, that itself was miraculous, and 7 days for the oil. Good? Got it? I can't take questions. I just want to finish up. Now he says the other answer, and then he brings one of the answers to the Beis Yosef. V'yesh mishipirish she'av heim hirgishu b'miyat hashemen. They sense the lack of shemen. V'chalkula shmona leilos k'shir alicha b'chazara. Right? Some say that they split it. He brings the Beis Yosef's first answer. And he says, very nearly. I don't think so. Shimkein hay samach al nes, b'lai rishona. Because then they'd be samach al nes. The Meiri didn't like that answer because it's samach al nes. Okay? So guys, how many answers do we have so far? 4. Right? 3 answers. Now, how can we categorize these answers? 3 of them are about the Shemen. That there was, in fact, a nes in the Shemen itself. And the other answer is that no, there was no nes in the Shemen itself. But where was the nes? No. In the finding of the oil and the milchama. Okay, now Rabbi Schneider was just talking about most source. So I know he didn't tell you this because I told him not to tell you this. Right? We say b'nei bina yimei shmona. B'nei bina yimei shmona. What's bina, guys? Bina. What is that? Isn't that an interesting one? B'nei bina yimei shmona. Why b'nei bina yimei shmona? Why bina? What's say b'nei chachma? Say b'nei kohanim. Say b'nei Yaakov, b'nei Matisyahu. Why b'nei bina? It's interesting language, isn't it? B'nei bina yimei shmona. So the idea of bina is that someone is called maiden davar mitoch davar. Women have bina yisera. You've heard that, right? You can't figure out how your wives know things and they know things, right? It's uncanny. Like, how did you know that? How do you know you're right? It's a different operating system. B'nei bina means that you look at something and you extrapolate from there to something else. That's a call for bina. Chachma is what your makabel, it says chachma is what you receive from your rabbi. That's what you receive. Bina is extrapolation, right? Some people know lots and lots of chachma, they're not extrapolating. Some people know a little bit, but they're very good extrapolating. Some people are both, right? But you see somebody, wow, look at all the chidushim he's coming out of, he's slipping this out and slipping that. That's a call for bina, development. Yes? That's b'nei bina. Bina means to extrapolate. So the Alter of Kelm said like this. They looked, listen carefully guys, at the miraculous miracles of Hanukkah, and they realized, you know what? the Teva is also miraculous. Oh, you know what? I'm used to bread coming from the ground, but it used to be that they saw as miraculous bread coming from the sky, man min hashamayim. When they got to Eretz Yisrael, those kids, and they said, "What, stuff grows from the ground? That's a miracle." Come on, you mean to tell me you put a seed in the ground and the seed gets broken up? Yeah? And from there it comes a big tree on Arzei Levanon? That cedar tree came from a little broken down seed? And a human being comes from putrid... Come on! You think I was born yesterday? Right? The sun shines. And we know in the quantum world, guys, what miraculous things we are. So the Teva is miraculous. One of the Rabbeim Bedosa said he didn't have any shemen. No problem, take the vinegar. Vinegar doesn't light chanina. No, vinegar can light. It's all the same. It's all putty in Hashem's hands. So they saw from the miracles. This is the Alter of Kelm's shot. They saw from the miracles. They got the message. It's not just, as it was so beautifully explained in our Yom Iyun, how miraculous miracles are, but they recognize the whole life is miracle. Guys, you don't see, science is not miraculous to you. I mean, medicine's moving forward. Of course you can explain everything, but you don't realize the Ruach Mimarom. No one knew any, medicine moved this far for 600, 700, 800 years, and then 1840, like the Zohar says, the Mainos HaChacham be opened up, and now things are moving so fast and people are figuring things out. That's miraculous. This is miraculous manipulations. The Teva is miraculous. Not the fact we have food today is miraculous. Getting married is miraculous. These are miraculous things. Hashem is running the whole world. So that's B'nai Bina Yemei Shmona. That's now listen, guys. That's B'nai Bina Yemei Shmona. That's what we say. Through the Koach HaBina, they said it's not 7, it's 8. B'nai Bina Yemei Shmona. Okay? So Rabosai, Baruch Hashem, we set out to explain a little bit. The question first, I wanted to make sure everybody saw the question. Now you can say, you saw the question of Beis Yosef. Baruch Hashem. That's the first thing. And now we know we have 5 answers. And I tell you we're going to break it down to 2 that are 5. Listen carefully. Right? 2 that are 5. What's 2? One class, now guys, what I'm doing now is classifying. Very important, especially in general, it's a lot easier to handle when you break things down, you classify them, it's easy to hold on to them. Just saying like there are a lot of disparate facts. Like the Sifri tells us, you always have to look for klolim, right? How to evaluate things. What's going on in my life? What's going on? The more you can bring things to general principles and bring things back, then you see. So let's see. There are 3 answers here which are similar, which are all saying. Listen carefully. Here's the family of answers. No, right? Again, what's the question? Why 8 days? There was enough oil for 1 day. Good. Beautiful question. Beis Yosef asked the question. The Meiri asked the question. I think maybe Tozer Rosh also asked the question. Right? It's a question. So why are we celebrating for 8 days? 7 days. It should be 7 days. Good. Class number 1 is no. In the oil itself, there were miraculous things happening even on the first day. That's the first class. What was that? Well, answer number 1, they only put in an 1/8, and that 1/8 lasted for the whole time. Answer number 2 is, no, they put in a full cup, but in the jug, the Baba Sali, Arak Pshat, in the jug stayed full, so there was an 1/8 there in the first day. And answer number 3 is, no, they emptied the jug, they filled up the cups, but the cups didn't go down. Good? We commented about the first pshat. Well, let's finish the classification. I'll just mention that. That's one family of pshat. Other family of pshat is, no, the extra day was not because of something miraculous about the oil for 8 days. In fact, the miracle of the oils was only 7 days. But there's another point that we're celebrating, which was either the miracle of finding the oil and the hatzlach of the war. That's the Meiri. And finally, the Alter Kelm's pshat is B'nai Bina Yemei Shmona. It's the miracle of Teva also. The miracle of the regular lighting is also a miracle. There's also a reason to make a chag for B'nai Bina Yemei Shmona. And we also touched upon, very interestingly, in the Beis Yosef's first pshat, right? We tried to think what was between the Beis Yosef's first pshat and last pshat. Why would they put in either an 1/8 or a full amount, right? What was that about? Well, he said, well, either they put it in an eighth because they wanted to get at least part of the mitzvah, right? But then it gets us into a very interesting halachic conversation of were they getting to the part of the mitzvah, or when I can't do a full mitzvah, do I do part? Like exactly like I said, I have 20 good minutes of davening in me. Is it better to do 777, Shachris Mincha Ma'ariv, or is it better to do one full Shachris, right? Interesting question. That could be between the first and the third answer of the Beis Yosef, or it could be the first answer of the Beis Yosef is thinking that an ace is going to happen, right? Like the Meiri seem to understand that idea, and then we have to get into question about, Meiri says, I don't like that because of Ein Somchal Al Nes, but we could answer that maybe they were Somech Al Nes because they knew if the Nes would happen, it would be for the covenant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Both say you might hear other answers. There are lots of, like I said, there are a lot more answers, but now we're Baruch Hashem I have another shir called eight answers for the 8 nights of Hanukkah, but here you have 5 of the answers, and happy Hanukkah. Shalom, shalom.